There is something deeply wrong with the jerky sitting in your grocery store. For over 2 centuries, dried meat kept mountain men alive through brutal Rocky Mountain winters. They hauled hilts across frozen passes, fought grizzlies, and survived blizzards lasting weeks on end. Their preserved meat gave them the strength to survive when nothing else would. Today, that same word jerky describes something linked to colon cancer, heart disease, and metabolic dysfunction. The World Health Organization classifies processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, the same category as cigarettes and asbestos. So what the hell happened between the frontier and your convenience store shelf? Pick up a bag of store-bought jerky and read the ingredients on the back label carefully. Beef, water, sugar, salt, sodium nitrite, sodium erythorbate, dextrose, monosodium glutamate, maltodextrin, hydrolyzed soy protein, natural smoke flavor, citric acid. Count them. Over a dozen ingredients for something that should be simple dried meat. This is not what mountain men ate. This is an industrial food product engineered for maximum shelf stability and manufactured craving, designed in laboratories. It bears no resemblance whatsoever to the dried meat that sustained generations of frontier survival across the American wilderness. Traditional jerky had 3 ingredients at most: meat, salt, smoke. That was it. The preservation came from technique, not chemistry, but modern jerky needs a dozen additives just to survive 2 years in plastic packaging, sitting on store shelves. And that is only the beginning of what went wrong with the food that once built empires of exploration across uncharted territory. The sugar content tells you everything you need to know about what happened. Many commercial jerky brands contain more sugar per ounce than chocolate chip cookies. They add it because sugar is cheap, because it masks the off flavors created by industrial processing, because it triggers the same reward pathways in your brain that keep you reaching for another piece. Mountain men did not add sugar to their preserved meat. They did not need to. Properly prepared jerky tasted good because it was real food made with real skill and patience and time. Then there is sodium nitrite. This preservative prevents bacterial growth and gives processed meat its appealing pink color. Without it, cured meat turns gray. The industry calls it essential for food safety and consumer appeal. What they do not mention is that sodium nitrite, when exposed to high heat or combined with amino acids in your stomach, forms compounds called nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are among the most potent carcinogens ever studied in laboratory settings around the world. Research from the World Cancer Research Fund directly links nitrosamine exposure to stomach and colorectal cancer in human populations worldwide. The World Health Organization reviewed over 800 scientific studies before classifying processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen in 2015. That classification means the evidence is as strong as it gets in scientific research. Processed meat causes cancer in humans. Not probably, not possibly. Causes. The same category includes plutonium and mustard gas. Americans consume over 40 pounds of processed meat every year without questioning what they are putting into their bodies or what it might be doing to them over time. Your grandfather's generation ate jerky without these consequences. So what changed? The answer is not that you are weak or that meat is inherently dangerous to human health. The answer is that modern jerky is not jerky. It is a manufactured product optimized for profit, not for your body, not for your health, not for your survival, not for anything except corporate bottom lines and shareholder returns. To understand what real preserved meat looks like, you have to go back to the mountains and the frontier. In 1823, a fur trapper named Hugh Glass was mauled by a grizzly bear in what is now South Dakota. His companions left him for dead, certain he would not survive the night. Glass survived, crawling over 200 miles to the nearest settlement, enduring 6 brutal weeks of unimaginable hardship. He lived on roots, berries, and dried meat, he scavenged from abandoned camps along the way. That preserved meat, prepared using techniques unchanged for generations, gave him the strength to keep moving when his body should have failed completely. Mountain men learned preservation from Native Americans who had perfected the techniques over thousands of years of careful trial and error. The Cree called it pemmican. The Lakota called it wasna. The Blackfoot had their own methods passed down through countless generations. Different names, same fundamental principle. Take lean meat, slice it thin against the grain, dry it slowly over low heat or cold smoke, then store it in conditions that prevent moisture accumulation and bacterial growth. The process took days, sometimes weeks of patient attention. There were no shortcuts because shortcuts meant spoiled food, and spoiled food meant death in the wilderness where no help would ever come. The science behind traditional preservation is elegant in its simplicity. Removing moisture below 25% creates an environment where bacteria cannot survive or reproduce effectively. Salt draws out additional water through osmosis, while simultaneously inhibiting microbial growth at the cellular level. Smoke deposits phenolic compounds onto the meat's surface, creating a natural antimicrobial barrier that repels pathogens. Cold temperatures slow enzymatic breakdown. Each step served a purpose. Each step preserved nutrition. Each step was perfected through generations of trial and often fatal error. The result was a concentrated food source that retained its protein structure, its healthy fats, its minerals and vitamins intact. A pound of properly prepared jerky contained the nutritional equivalent of 3 pounds of fresh meat without the weight or spoilage risk. Trappers could carry weeks of sustenance in their packs across mountain ranges and through valleys. Indigenous peoples could store surplus from successful hunts to survive lean winters when game disappeared entirely from the frozen landscape. The fat was critical to the nutritional value of traditional preserved meat. Traditional pemmican included rendered animal fat, which provided dense calories essential for survival in extreme conditions. Those saturated fats also carried fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Modern jerky strips the fat because fat goes rancid on shelves and reduces shelf life. What remains is protein isolated from its nutritional context, then doctored with chemical additives to create artificial shelf stability that nature never intended. Traditional smoking happened over actual wood fires, burning real timber, such as pine, hickory, and mesquite, depending on the region and available timber. The smoke infused the meat slowly at temperatures below 150 degrees over many hours. The low and slow method preserved the protein structure while adding antimicrobial compounds naturally. Modern liquid smoke is a chemical shortcut made in factories. It mimics the flavor but provides none of the preservation benefits that real smoke delivers after days of patient work. Then the meat is loaded with sodium nitrite to achieve what real smoke once did naturally. Processing speed tells the whole story of what went wrong with this food. Traditional jerky took anywhere from 3 to 14 days to prepare properly. Modern industrial production completes the entire process in hours. The meat is injected with a brine solution containing preservatives, sugar, and flavor chemicals. It is briefly heated to temperatures that damage protein structures. It is sprayed with antimicrobials. Then it is packaged in modified atmosphere containers filled with nitrogen gas to prevent oxidation. Efficiency replaced nutrition. Speed replaced safety. Profit replaced sustenance. That speed comes at a biological cost. Your body pays with every single bite you take. When meat is heated rapidly to high temperatures, proteins undergo structural changes called denaturation. Some denaturation is normal in cooking, but industrial processing creates damaged protein fragments that your digestive system struggles to process effectively. Research from the University of Copenhagen found that highly processed meats contain significantly higher levels of advanced glycation end products, compounds directly linked to inflammation, oxidative stress, and accelerated aging at the cellular level. The sugar added to modern jerky compounds the problem significantly. When sugars combine with proteins during high heat processing, they create those same advanced glycation end products in abundance. Your body recognizes these compounds as foreign invaders, and your immune system mounts an inflammatory response. Eat processed meat regularly, and that inflammation becomes chronic. Chronic inflammation underlies virtually every modern metabolic disease, from diabetes to heart disease to dementia. The inflammatory cycle never stops because the exposure never stops. Then there is your gut microbiome to consider. Trillions of bacteria in your digestive system regulate everything from nutrient absorption to immune function to mood and mental clarity. These bacteria evolved alongside human diets that included naturally fermented and preserved foods for millennia. Traditional preservation methods supported beneficial bacteria populations. The lactic acid produced during natural fermentation creates an acidic environment where harmful pathogens cannot survive, and beneficial microbes thrive and protect your health. Modern food additives devastate this delicate ecosystem. Research from the Weizmann Institute in Israel found that common preservatives like sodium nitrite and potassium sorbate alter gut microbiome composition within days of exposure. The changes favor bacteria associated with inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. A study published in Nature found that emulsifiers commonly used in processed foods damage the mucus barrier, protecting your intestinal lining, triggering inflammatory bowel conditions that plague millions of Americans today. Your great-great-grandfather ate preserved meat without these consequences because his preserved meat supported his biology rather than attacking it. His jerky was alive in the sense that it retained its nutritional complexity and biological value. It was food. What sits on store shelves today is not food in any meaningful biological sense. It is an edible product designed to be cheap, consistent, and shelf-stable for years, regardless of what that stability costs your health. The industry knows this and has known it for decades. Internal documents from major meat processors reveal that product development focuses on cost reduction and shelf life extension above all other considerations, including consumer health. Nutrition is an afterthought addressed through marketing rather than actual formulation. They add synthetic vitamins back into products they have stripped of natural nutrition, then advertise high protein content as if protein isolated from its nutritional matrix has the same biological value as protein in a whole food. It does not, and they know it does not. Studies prove the difference is not marginal. Researchers at the Harvard School of Public Health tracked more than 120,000 people for decades. Every daily serving of processed meat increased cardiovascular mortality by 20%. Every daily serving of unprocessed red meat showed no significant increase whatsoever. The processing itself creates the danger. A 2018 study from the University of Navarra in Spain followed nearly 20,000 participants over 15 years of careful observation. Those with the highest processed meat intake had a 44% higher risk of all-cause mortality compared to the lowest intake group. Unprocessed meat showed no similar association at all. The meat was not the problem. The industrial processing was the problem. The shortcuts and chemical additives were the problem. If you want to eat preserved meat that does not make you sick, you have 3 practical options available to you today. First, find producers who use traditional methods. They exist, and they are growing in number. Small-scale artisan jerky makers across North America are reviving heritage techniques that worked for thousands of years. They use pasture-raised meat, real salt, actual wood smoke, and drying that takes days. The product costs more because quality takes time and care. But the price reflects real value rather than hidden health costs you pay later in medical bills and suffering. Second, make your own preserved meat at home. Traditional jerky requires no special equipment and no advanced skills. A basic food dehydrator or even an oven set to its lowest temperature can produce proper dried meat. Slice lean cuts thin against the grain, marinate in salt and whatever spices you prefer, then dry at temperatures between 130 degrees and 160 degrees for 8 to 12 hours until properly preserved. You control every single ingredient. You eliminate every single additive. You reconnect with ancestral food wisdom. Third, reduce processed meat consumption entirely. The mountain man ate jerky because he had no alternatives in the wilderness. You have options he could not imagine. Fresh meat, properly raised and simply prepared, provides the same nutritional benefits without the carcinogenic additives or inflammatory processing damage that plagues modern products. The point is not to romanticize frontier life. Those men faced hardships we cannot comprehend. The point is to recognize that their preservation methods were perfected over generations precisely because they worked with human biology rather than against it. If you are finding value in this information, subscribe to the channel. It helps us share this forgotten knowledge with more people who are tired of being told that their bodies are defective when it is the food that is broken. The food industry wants you confused. They profit from complexity, from ingredient lists you cannot pronounce, from preservation methods you do not understand. But the truth is simple. Your ancestors knew how to preserve meat. They did it for thousands of years without chemicals, without carcinogens, without sugar and additives and industrial shortcuts. They did it with salt and smoke and time and patience and respect for the process. The mountain man pounding jerky in a frozen camp under starlight was not ignorant. He was working with knowledge perfected across generations of survival. Knowledge that prioritized nutrition and digestibility and survival above all else. We traded that knowledge for convenience and speed. We accelerated production times from weeks to hours. We replaced real smoke with chemical substitutes. We added sugar to mask the taste of nutritionally bankrupt processing. Now we wonder why preserved meat, once the foundation of human survival in harsh and unforgiving conditions, has become associated with cancer and heart disease and metabolic dysfunction. The answer is actually simple. We stopped making real food. We started manufacturing products, that look like food but behave in the body like slow poison. Traditional jerky was not a superfood because of any magical properties or special ingredients. It was a superfood because it was prepared with genuine respect for the process, proper technique, quality ingredients, time. That is the knowledge the food industry wants you to forget, because if you understand that the problem is not meat, but industrial processing, you stop buying their products. You start demanding real food. You take control of what you put in your body. The choice is yours to make today. Mountain Man Jerky was real food. Your store-bought alternative is a chemistry experiment with a nutrition label slapped on the package. The secret was never lost. It was just forgotten by an industry that prioritized profit over health. And every time you choose real preserved meat over industrial imitation, you reclaim a piece of ancestral knowledge that kept people strong when survival demanded everything they had to give.